Oh yes, it's coming in 3, 2, 1. On the air with FDT-TV, the premier West Ham and Arsenal football podcast, brought to you every Monday by Michael Hawes and Ian Varker.
Hello and welcome to the end of the season almost. Episode 39 of this season, Mike.
Bloody hell.
So it's scary stuff really, but a few things have happened in the last week. West Ham, as you might be able to tell by the layout, are not in Europe anymore and therefore no longer massive. That's about it. No. Yeah, not much else has happened. But Spurs and Arsenal, that rearranged fixture from COVID is upcoming this week, which it makes for all good viewing. But how are you getting on, Mike? How are you doing?
Yeah, good. I'm very well. Can't believe that we've won our last 4 games on the bounce after the run we were having.
Yep.
And the game yesterday, I mean, the way we started, I'll go on to it in a bit more detail in a bit, but the way we started, you thought it was going to be an absolute cricket score. But, yeah, it was... went 2 up. It was kind of like the Bet365 thing. So they pay an early payout, and that was very much Arsenal's attitude yesterday. And I think we were quite fortunate to get away with the result that we did in the end. But yeah, I'm buzzing, mate. And knowing the fact that if Arsenal beat Spurs, if I'm saying this if because I'm a little bit dubious about this game, if Arsenal beat Spurs on Thursday, we will finish above them in the league, and also we will secure Champions League football next year.
Yeah. And because we're out, there's no danger of being kicked out through other means. Well, we'll see who's the bigger bottler, shall we? But yeah, so I think we'll recap quickly on last week's games, or like the weekend's just gone games. Then we move on to a bit of, well, I think maybe then we do predictions for this upcoming week. I just spat all over myself, sorry. And then move on to some other interesting things that are going on in football around now. So, first off, Leeds and Arsenal. What happened?
Well, as I said, it was an absolute lightning start. Eddie Nketiah with a brilliant press on Melier. Completely done him. Played the ball out or tried to play the ball out of his feet. Got caught out. Eddie Nketiah was there, slotted the goal, slotted the ball into the goal. You could tell that Melier was really distraught after that because he had a bit of a shocker throughout the entirety of the game. Did pull off some good saves, but I think that proper rattled him.
Yep. And
then the second goal, I think it was a crossing from Martinelli across the box. Eddie Nketiah on his weaker foot, kind of like falling back, slotted it in. A proper Carly special goal, that was. And yeah, 2-0 up, seemed to be cruising. Leeds go down to 10 men. And you think it was going to be... I think by the end of the first half, we had like something stupid, like 10 shots in the first half.
Yep.
And a 5 on target. We had the potential to run an absolute riot with them, but in true Arsenal fashion, we've seen it so many times. It was a set piece, clinical chance, and Leeds managed to get themselves back into the game, and it was kind of like their tails were up at that point. And like I said, I think we were quite fortunate to stay in the game at that particular point. But as I said, we come away with 3 points. I'm really happy with that, and the fact that Spurs dropped a point at the weekend.
Yep.
From a winning position is brilliant, and as you said, it sets the tie up nicely for Thursday.
Yeah, and with that, obviously, there's a few things that come from that game. It leaves Leeds in 18th place, minus 35 goal difference. So they are on level points with Burnley, but a long way away from them in terms of goal difference. It's still a 3-horse race to go down. Obviously, Everton have got a game in hand over both of them and are a point ahead now. So you'd like to think they're outsiders to go down at the moment. But if you had to choose between a team to go down, Burnley or Leeds, who do you think it's going to be at this point with 2 games to go? I can tell you their next fixture if you want to know. Yeah. So Leeds are at home to Chelsea on Wednesday, and on Sunday, Burnley play Tottenham away and Leeds play Brighton.
Okay, so for Chelsea, do you know what? Going into that game, I'd say that Leeds won't be as outsiders as some people come off. I know they've had a bit of a ropey run of fixtures recently, ropey run of results recently. But I think after the drubbing that they had at the weekend, knowing how vulnerable Chelsea have looked over the last few weeks, it could be an interesting game. I wouldn't necessarily say that Chelsea are going to run away with it, especially with their current form. I think it's like 2 losses and a draw, looking very comfortable at the weekend, and ended up drawing 2-2. To be honest, I'd say that game's anyone. So,
there's 3 games to go, not 2. For both Leeds and Burnley.
Oh, right, okay.
4 games for Everton.
And Burnley, you said, have got Tottenham.
Burnley got Tottenham, yeah.
Again, I think that's going to very much depend on the result on Thursday. Do you know what? I think I would have Leeds to go down this year, which would be a shame because I mean they have played some entertaining football over the last couple of seasons. They've been really hampered by injuries this year. I think if they'd had a full strength squad, their league position may be completely different. But it's one of those shoulda, woulda, coulda things. It's just the way that the cookies have fell from this year. So I think if they do go down, they'll bounce straight back up. So for me, Leeds to go down.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think a little bit too late to change Bielsa and try and save some points. But yeah, you are right. Hampered by injuries, and could that have made a difference? Possibly. But a little bit of second season syndrome going on.
Absolutely.
But another team who's already been relegated in Norwich. Actually, no. I had another question. Eddie Nketiah is out of contract.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been pulling Arsenal through sort of by hook or by crook with goals up front, even when you've looked a little bit lacklustre for goals recently. Do you think that will egg you on to sign a new contract, or do you think he's putting himself in the shop window?
I don't know. It's a difficult one because as you rightly said, he has cropped up certainly over the last few weeks and scored some goals when we were struggling up front. Obviously, you've only got to look at the return of Lacazette this year. When you look at Emile Smith-Rowe and Bukayo Saka, I think are ahead of him in the goals tally for this season. So, do I think he's one for the future? Potentially. But the immediate future, I think he's one of these players that has seen obviously the rise and the success of your Sakas, your Odegaards, your Emile Smith-Rowe, and I think he wants a piece of that.
Yep.
It really depends on where Arteta wants to go. Obviously, being in European football, so we've guaranteed European football at least. I wouldn't be surprised if he does stay. He's kind of like a backup striker and used in those competitions, obviously to allow for a bit of squad rotation and stuff like that.
Yep.
But do I see him as a full-time replacement? I've got to be honest, no. So I think it would depend on if he wants regular football or regular first-team football, should I say.
Yep.
In which case, I don't think he would get it. So the decision would be for him if he wants to stay and obviously fight for his position, which I think he's done very well, or whether he wants that guaranteed spot by going elsewhere. But no, I don't think he would get regular first team football.
Fair enough.
Next season.
Fair enough. Answers the question, really. And that moves us on to Norwich and West Ham. Norwich, of course, already relegated. West Ham coming off of a bad referee against Frankfurt. Okay, we didn't drip ourselves in glory, but the ref didn't help. So, it looked like a West Ham team who were free from pressure. And we sort of got back to playing football how we did at the beginning of the season. And I know people say, oh, yeah, but it was Norwich. We were 3-0 up at half-time. And I think we could have had more had we have more squad depth and players be fitter. Obviously, they're still tired from the amount of games we played this year, having such a small squad, injuries, etc., etc., etc. But 4-0, you've got to take that every day of the week. It doesn't matter who it's against. And I think it sets up that running nicely if we can string the last couple of results together. Then, who knows? I mean, fourth's out the window now, but certainly another Europa League automatic qualifying spot is well within our grasp. And who knows? Who knows? We've got a minimum Europa League to get another year out of Declan Rice, I think. I do think he might be on the way to City, if I'm totally honest. But we'll wait and see. Yeah.
To be honest, just talking about the result. Obviously, you mentioned the scoreline there. Do you think the fact that now that Norwich have already been relegated, that there's A, nothing for them to fight for anymore, and B, kind of done you a favour with how tired your squad possibly is?
Possibly a little bit, yeah. I mean, they didn't lay down Norwich. I just think we were the better team on the day. I mean, they did score a goal by Sam Byram, actually, used to play for us, but it was ruled out for quite rightly by VAR for handball. But yeah, there may be something in it that obviously they've not really got anything to play for, knowing they're already down. Some of them will get moves, obviously. But I think, I know Buendia left, didn't he, for Aston Villa at the beginning of the season, but that Norwich squad looks thinner than it did 2 seasons ago when they were last in the Premier League. It's a similar squad, but with some of it sold. And we know they're sort of a yo-yo club. They're not going to put in the money to be able to stay up. But will they win the... You always like them to win the championship, didn't you, or get automatic promotion. I can see this being a season where they don't come back up, you know.
Okay.
I think Pookie's well on the wrong side of 30 now. There's a couple of players in there who I think will go. And they may replace them well, but I think that's a Norwich squad that's lacking any real quality, if I'm honest. But yeah, so that moves us nicely on to the predictions for this week. So we did predict those games, and I can't remember what I predicted.
No,
but
let me fill you in.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so the both games kicked off at 2:00 yesterday. We'll start off with the Norwich West Ham score.
Yep.
So you predicted 2-0 to West Ham. I predicted 3-1. Obviously, as you mentioned, the score's 4-0, so we both get a point each. Arsenal versus Leeds. You had 1-1. I had 2-1.
Okay. To Leeds.
No. As I mentioned the other day, it was definitely going to be a game, or I did feel comfortable going into that particular fixture. However, I knew our defensive frailties would come back and bite us in the arse, as they have done in the last few weeks. We seem to kind of get a bit of confidence and then 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yep.
Silly goal to concede. So, yes, I'm glad I did go for 2-1. So that's 3 points to me, 0 to you. So that's 1 point to you for last week and 4 points to me. It doesn't do much in the terms of the overall scores for the season. So you are now currently on 54, and I'm now on 46.
It's still all to play for.
Yeah.
If you can get some decent results, you're still all to play for. Okay.
Yes. So yeah, we've got 3 games this week.
Yeah. So 9 points up for grabs.
Yes.
Which would put you on level terms with me.
No, it would be 1 point ahead.
So if I don't get anything, can you get 1, or you get all 3? Oh, makes it interesting.
Yes. So Tottenham versus Arsenal, the long-awaited North London derby. There's a lot riding on this game. It's basically a 6-pointer. So as I mentioned, if we win this game, we qualify automatically for the Champions League because we'll be 7 points ahead of Chelsea. 7 points ahead of Spurs with 2 games to go, so therefore we can't be caught. However, you mentioned also about Spurs playing Burnley on Sunday. I think you said was the fixture. To be honest, I think by Monday it could all be over in terms of the race for full spot.
Yep.
Because obviously Spurs, we play each other. Spurs have got Burnley, which I think will be a difficult game, and we've got Newcastle, and I think Newcastle, potentially knowing that they're safe now, have already checked out for their holidays, or I hope they have. So just looking at this particular game, we all know form goes out the window for derby matches. Spurs obviously just coming back off of a 1-1 draw against Liverpool. To be honest, I think they're a little bit unfortunate on that, but it just goes to show that they can concede goals, and we have seen that all this season. However, on their day, they can beat anyone.
Yep.
Again, proven by the result against Man City. Looking at our run of form, I would say that we go into this particular game as favourites, and there's a lot riding on this game, as I mentioned, for the chase for the Champions League qualification. But I'm going to go for 2-2 on this one. I think Tottenham will go ahead, then we'll go ahead, and then they'll get a late equaliser or something in the game. So I'm going to go for 2-2 on this one.
So I have gone slightly different with this on the basis that I still believe match fixing is a thing, right? And this is a big game, and if you win it, then that rules out making anything in the rest of the season for the top of the table, really. If Spurs win it, then it makes for an exciting finish. 2 games to go, anyone could take it. Buy Sky Sports now, buy BT now, buy the Premier League. So for that reason, I'm going to call there's going to be some contentious decisions in this one.
Okay.
And for that reason, and the fact that I think there will be some fixing somewhere, I've gone 2-1 to Spurs.
Okay.
Just because from a selling point, that makes for a much, much more exciting, sellable finish to the season.
And do we kind of debunk that theory if Arsenal then win?
Not necessarily, because if there's contentious decisions, but Spurs still bottle it. I mean, that's what you have to weigh up. Spurs are professional bottlers, and even with things going in their favour, they may still bottle it. So just watch out for the contentious VAR. That's all I'm saying.
Okey-dokey. Next game that we have, I believe, is on Sunday. West Ham take on Man City.
Yes, and again, Man City are playing during the week, I believe.
They've got someone like Watford or
something like that. Yeah, it might be Watford, might be. No, it was
Wolves.
Wolves. It was Wolves.
Yes.
So again, Wolves want to win to get into some form of European competition. Man City obviously want to win to become champions. Sorry, pardon me, but this game in particular, it's an occasion. So it's Mark Noble's last home game ever. When we think back to the last home game at Upton Park, it was an occasion. Fans went a bit mental, put off Man United, you could say. It was heaving. I don't think it's going to be quite the same reception, but I think it will be a very good reception. And usually on occasions like that, like Europa League, first time automatically qualified, we've done very well. Last game in Upton Park, we've done very well. Mark Noble, Mr. West Ham, last game, I think we're going to do very well. And I actually think we're going to beat City 3-2. I can't see us not conceding, but with his last game and the fact that there's not really any pressure from anything and Man City have to win, I think there's some mistakes there to be made. We know that they could romp us 7-0 without a problem, but I think at that point, tired legs, tired minds, West Ham occasion, we're going to pull something out the bag. And again, if it could be, as long as it's not like the one against Man United this earlier in the season. But again, if City lose or draw to Wolves, and they lose this one or draw against us, it makes for a much more exciting finish at the top of the table. So there could be some contentious decisions which go in our favour for once. Which I'm not going to say I would complain about it because it needs to be consistent and fair. But on that occasion, you go, I'll take that. Do you know what I mean? You say it's got to be fair, but in our bias. So, yeah.
Okay, I don't know where to sit with this one because obviously Liverpool have also got a game this week as well. I think it's tomorrow against Aston Villa.
Yep.
And I think the reason why they've got to have this game played early is because obviously you've got the FA Cup final this weekend as well. Oh, that could be another game that we can predict.
I think it should be.
Okay. So, could Steven Gerrard cause the upset to his beloved Liverpool? Obviously, their run of results in the grand scheme of things nowhere near what it was last season when I think they were overachieving. However, I could see this as being potentially another upset for Liverpool, even if they hold Liverpool to a draw.
Yep.
Again, I think it wouldn't do anything to hurt Man City's title challenge. So, where do I sit with this one? Do you know what? Sorry to be a Debbie Downer, but I'm gonna go for 3-1 to Man City on this one.
If it was that result, I would not be surprised, but I just got a feeling. So we move on then to the FA Cup next, because that's Saturdays, and it's just actually before the West Ham game. So it's Chelsea versus Liverpool at Wembley for the FA Cup.
Yep.
What do you reckon?
Do you know what? I'm adamant that Liverpool are going to win the Champions League this year.
Right.
It's going to be a difficult tie, I think, against Real Madrid. However, I do think they will end up winning it. And I did say a couple of weeks ago that I think City to win the
Premier League.
City to win the league, Liverpool to win the Champions League. I'm going to go with my gut on this one. I'm going to go for a Chelsea win on this one. And I'm going to go for 2-1.
Ooh, okay. So, there has just been some breaking news. Apparently, Mane's agent is in Bayern Munich speaking to them because he's out of contract at the end of next year. And they're potentially looking at a move this summer. So with that, potentially you could say, if that's true and that's going on, his head's been turned, so his mind's not going to be in the game. And I think without him, they're a lot worse off. That Luis Diaz looks like a decent player. Salah won't get as many goals if Mane's not there. Firmino, who knows if he's playing or not. I'm going to go 3-1 Chelsea.
Okay.
I think they might. Tuchel likes a final. Good in knockout rounds of competitions, and they've got to find some form eventually. And I think that's going to be the game. I think they're just sort of slowly but surely plodding along, because why not? They had enough room to do that. Obviously, it's getting a little bit squeaky bum time now for fourth, but or depending on what results go what way. But yeah, I think 3-1 to Chelsea.
Okay. And do you know what? I would love it if Liverpool lose the league by a point, come runners up in the Champions League, and lose to Chelsea in the FA Cup. Now, to me, does that make our season better than Liverpool's, or the fact that they've already won the Carabao Cup?
I think they've won silverware, so you'd have to put that there, but it is the Carabao Cup.
I'm gonna go. We've had a better season than Liverpool if they don't win anything else. Just because we've got the youngest squad in the Premier League.
Fair enough. And last but certainly least is Newcastle hosting Arsenal.
Yes. So this is the Monday night game. Again, I think this is going to very much depend on what happens on Thursday. If we pick up any injuries, or if we still need to battle in order to get that top 4 spot. Just looking at Newcastle's last 6, so they've won 4, lost the last 2. So, but again, they've lost 1-0 to Liverpool and 5-0 to Man City. So you can't really judge anything based on those 2 teams. Again, I think they've shown their quality this season, and without a shadow of doubt, the 2 best teams in England at the moment. Do you know what? I think I'm going to go for... I'm going to go for 2-1 to Arsenal on that one.
Ooh. So the reverse of what I've gone for. I've gone 2-1 to Newcastle.
Okay.
Now, I do have some reasoning behind it. So my thinking is, if you beat Spurs, you got nothing to play for. So holiday mode means, okay, you might play a rotated squad with a few youngsters in there because you're already guaranteed top 4 and happy days. Let's give some few players some run out in the Premier League, see what they're like, see if they should be in a squad for next season. Alternatively, if you lose to Spurs, panic stations because, oh my God, we're gonna lose 4th, and that's when you'll see some individual errors coming out. And I think you'll just do something a little bit silly and concede a penalty or a really sloppy set piece goal, something like that. So that's why I've got 2-1 to Newcastle.
Okay, fair enough. Let's just hope that we end up beating Spurs on Thursday then.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the better of the 2, isn't it, if that's the case? But it makes it interesting as well, because sometimes we end up with almost exactly the same results regardless, even though we don't sort of talk about it beforehand. But in other news around football, Asthmagate, as it's sort of being dubbed now, so I thought I'd pull out some statistics for you, Mike. How many people, or percentage-wise, across the UK, do you think have asthma?
Are we talking the general public?
Just the general public of everyone in the UK. What percentage of the population has asthma?
I'd say probably about 36%.
Oh no, 12%.
Okay.
12%. Allegedly, I don't know if that's true.
That statistic.
You're part of that statistic. Weak. So generally, the higher up in sports you go with the fitness, things like that, the amount of people with asthma, that statistic comes down and down and down. What percentage of the Liverpool squad do you think have asthma?
Are we talking the first team squad or the overalls?
So, at their 35-man squad.
46.
63%.
Jesus.
Of Liverpool players have asthma. 22 out of the 35. Now, let's put that in perspective of this is a team that play a high press game, that are up there for sprinting stats, and that are always raring to go, right? And 63% of them have asthma. So generally on a match day, it depends. Obviously, there's no list of which players it is, but you can pretty much say the whole team on the squad, on the pitch and on the bench has asthma. What that means for football is they can use a certain they can use a certain drug called salbutamol, which opens up the medium and large airways in the lungs, meaning for an increased lung capacity means you get more blood to your muscles, you can run for longer, It's not banned in football. Bradley Wiggins, right? Sir Bradley Wiggins, we should call him really, got kicked out of the Tour de France for using that same drug because it's banned in every other sport. Now, not saying that they're cheating, but there's not been many recent studies on it. So, as of 2011, there was no evidence that there was any increase in physical performance after inhaling it. However, there have been various reports and small studies done that you do get a large benefit if it is delivered orally, so in terms of a pill, or intravenously, so it's injected. Both of which are allowed in the Premier League rules. So, is it a case that Liverpool found this really niche market of players that all have asthma and like the ability to run for days and they're just genetic freaks? Or is it a case maybe, little bit of wink wink nudge nudge, we've got asthma and we can use this stuff and we can run for days and no one can do anything about it, which means actually we're performing well above where we should be. Do I like to cast aspersions? Yes. So I think it's the latter. No proof of that, obviously. But I do think maybe there needs to be some sort of inquest into the what's, whys and whens, because I can't imagine all of those players had asthma the whole of their career, because most of them wouldn't made it out of the academies. Do you have asthma? Okay, don't even come in our academy. Like you're physically not going to be able to compete at the level we need you to. Is that why maybe some of the players want a ridiculous wage, Mohamed Salah? Because actually you're asking me to do something that could come back to haunt me in years to come. Wanting £500,000 a week. Is that the reason some of your big players, Sadio Mane, are looking at dropping ship to Bayern Munich all of a sudden after this has broke only a few days ago? Because actually that's going to come back to haunt me at some point. So it's not saying all of this stuff is correct, but in my opinion, it all seems a little bit fishy that it's all happening as this has come out. But what do you think about that statistic? And do you think there is anything to do to this conspiracy theory?
It wouldn't surprise me. And you've been saying it for weeks and weeks and weeks about corruption in the Premier League. Is this a form of corruption that could potentially be coming to light? As you mentioned, it is banned in other sports, so how people have got away with it in football, but again, they're kind of led by their own jurisdictions. So if they decide that for someone with asthma needs their medication and stuff, then as a fellow asthmatic, then fair play to them.
Yep.
But like I said, you've seen other people in other sports get penalised for using this drug. Yeah, you have to start asking questions. Now, in terms of the percentages, there's definitely something fishy about that. That screams of their whole kind of COVID cases.
Yep.
A few months back, do you know what I mean? When it was like 90% of the team or something had come down with COVID, or their whatever bullshit figure it was, their backroom staff wouldn't release any names as to who it was that was suffering from it, but they couldn't play that particular game then. And all of a sudden, I think about 80% of their players were playing in the next game, which was scheduled only a few days after. So,
yeah.
Faulty tests my arse is what I will say for this. And as you mentioned, I mean, Jurgen Klopp, he does like the high press game, and I think if you look at when he first come into the level of fitness that the team had, they were pulling up with hamstring injuries left, right, and centre.
Yep.
You do have to start asking questions, I think. And again, I'm not going to take anything away from the quality of the team that they have, because they've obviously proved it in the last 2 seasons about how well or how good they are. But what I would suggest is can we look at their goals scored in the last 10 to 15 minutes? Yeah, last 10 to 15 minutes of each game, and I think they're one of the highest in the league at the moment, and possibly have been for the last couple of seasons. Now, you would have to look at the benefits to the people who are taking this drug to see if that is giving them an advantage in the latter stages of the game when other teams are struggling. Oh, not so much struggling, but I would say blowing more out of their arse than Liverpool.
That natural fatigue.
The next Mo Farah.
And I do think it's one of those that because the studies have been. The last major study on say the pumps was done in 2011. That's 11 years ago. Times have changed. Obviously, drugs have changed, improved. You would like to think so. Maybe it's time someone did a study, and maybe that's an FA funded thing, a Premier League funded thing. To let's have a look at actually if they are asthmatic, let's put them on the pump because that's had evidence to show that it doesn't really affect performance. Or physical performance, but let's do another study on that and on whether it's taken in pill form or whether it's taken intravenously as to what the effects are. Because if it's a case that none of these players have a pump, I've never seen a Liverpool player with a pump. There would have been a photo of it somewhere, I'm sure. So it probably is orally or intravenously, which there have been things that show it does give a decent performance boost. So maybe a study needs to be done. But yeah, let us know what you think about that in the YouTube comments because it's quite a controversial subject. Other than that, has there been anything else that's gone on in the world of football?
Yes.
Go on.
And I'm very disappointed for this. Obviously, it was the last day of the Women's Super League yesterday.
Yep.
Chelsea needed to better Arsenal's results.
Yes.
And at one point or at one stage, it was looking quite promising. They went 2-1 down against Manchester United, at which point Arsenal were winning. Well, in fact, no, Arsenal were drawing against West Ham at that particular point. But which case we were on top with a superior goal difference. And then Chelsea decided in the second half they wanted to turn up and absolutely run right over Manchester United. And ended up winning the WSL yesterday. So congratulations to them. Commiserations to Arsenal. It's been an outstanding season, I think, for both two clubs. And just it coming down to the wire like that. Again, we're seeing it in our own form of football as well. So it makes it more interesting, and I think it's a good thing for the women's game. How much exposure they're getting nowadays.
Yep.
In the likes of Sky Sports and stuff, and for it to go down to the wire, absolutely brilliant.
What's that? Arsenal have been dominant, haven't they, in the Women's Super League for many years. They've actually had some competition this year.
Well, that's actually Chelsea ladies were the first team to win at the league in 3 consecutive seasons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But yes, on the most part, Arsenal were the dominant force, and that would have been the first time would have won it since 2019, I think. Because I think Chelsea, they won it in 2018, 2020, 2021, and now 2022.
Yeah. Well, there is a bonus to that, Mike, that Chelsea go under because Abramovich will scarper this out, and then they won't be there next year. So just walk away with it. Thinking about that though, the women's Arsenal women's team and Mikel Arteta both signed new contracts, didn't they? The managers.
Yes.
So that's good. I don't know how long it's for. I just remember seeing a headline. So
till 24-25.
Yeah. So they're showing that they're happy with the results that are going that way, and hopefully they're hoping for bigger and better things year on year.
Yeah, I think the timing of it has caused a lot of controversy amongst Arsenal fans. I have seen quite a few people on social media coming out and saying why now, or what's he done to prove that he deserves a new contract. Now, in his first season with us, ended up winning us the FA Cup and also the Community Shield as well. So 2 pieces of silverware. Then granted, we did have an atrocious season last season. This year, granted, we were eliminated from the cups quite early on in the competitions. Sorry, no, that's a complete lie, because I think we got eliminated from Liverpool in the Carabao Cup, and I can't remember what happened in the FA Cup, but it was a run of shit results. But I think when you look at my attitude, I think is a key factor for this. Last season, couldn't wait for the season to be over.
Yep.
The season before that, when we won the silverware, there was some glimmer of hope. This year, at the start of the season, it was all very doom and gloom. Obviously, losing the first 3 games, and a few people come out saying that we were relegation. However, the big difference for me is that you can see an identity amongst the team, which is brilliant to see. We haven't got many of the marquee signings left in the ranks. It seems to be people that want to stay and fight for the badge and give it their all week in, week out, which is more than what could be said about a few individual players. So I think, yes, I would have definitely given him a new contract.
Yep.
And yeah,
I just think it goes to show the board are confident that you are going to get Champions League this year. So if you bottle it completely and Tottenham topple you for 4th spot, although you'd have to look at some success because you're back in a European competition, I think there is that section of Arsenal fans who will go, well, that's not good enough. You should have waited until he guarantees you Champions League, and then you could say, yes, job well done. If you was vying with any other team for it, I don't think it'd be a problem. I think it's because it's Spurs that could potentially unseat you. Then that's the bone of contention.
Well, I think someone come out and said it really well the other day, and stated when you're looking at the wider project, the goal for the season was to get back into Europe, whether that would be Europa League or Champions League.
Yes.
And the fact that we've already guaranteed a Europa League spot, regardless of what happens over the next few fixtures, is brilliant. Obviously, I think by showing the ambition that we have and the fact that we are now challenging for the Champions League spots, and finishing third's not an impossibility for us, obviously, depending on how Chelsea get on in their remaining fixture. So it could even be, I think we're 3 points behind Chelsea now.
You're a point behind Chelsea.
A point behind Chelsea. So yeah, with a few games to go as well, there is a possibility that, looking at Chelsea's form, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it could potentially be that even Spurs leapfrog them again, depending on the run of the results. I don't see it happening. And if you look back at my season preview for this season, I basically stated that getting the Champions League football was for me the priority. Obviously, we didn't have the amount of games as that we have had previously, so getting back in that Champions League spot was a priority, and possible and some silverware.
Yeah. Looking
back over how the season has gone, the fact that we haven't won silverware this year, I think, is not going to be a dampener if we do get in that Champions League spot.
Yeah.
Because not only does that guarantee us it guarantees us a larger income in terms of Champions League fixtures and all that stuff. So it means that we can therefore further improve the squad.
Yeah.
Come the summer.
Yeah. So
it's only going to be a benefit for us. I won't be disappointed if we do make 4th with no silverware. I'm looking back on how the season's gone.
Yeah,
So,
and the interesting thing being, although there is quite a leap in points between third and second, some of those silly results that, say, mid-season and early season, if you'd turn them into draws and a couple of wins, you would have been up there fighting for the title as well. And I think that's what you have to look at. And you mentioned there earlier on, with Arsenal having the youngest average age of player in the Premier League, that if you're doing it, or say you can't win anything with youngsters, the classic saying, but actually all of that builds experience. So next year, you would like to think that actually in those difficult games, those players who had a learning experience to lose those games will help convert them into draws or wins, which will put you on a better platform.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, pardon me.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's all good fun, and it's looking up for both clubs, hopefully, we say.
Absolutely.
Till we lose Jared Bowen and Declan Rice, but that's a problem for next year.
He was wearing the captain's armband at the weekend.
Who's that?
Jared Bowen.
Probably because Rice didn't start.
Oh, of course.
So Noble was on the bench, so was he. So yeah, he could well have been.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, so it's all good fun. But with that being that, I think that's everything from us this week. And we will see you very, very soon.
Thanks very much.
Goodbye.